Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Gentex Multimedia Livecast for Tuesday, October 27th. Streaming live to your device from beautiful Brisbane, Australia. I'm Umesh Chandra, your host. Making news today, Melbourne is making its final day in strict lockdown ahead of restrictions easing at midnight, with the state recording no new coronavirus cases and 0 deaths for the second day running. Queensland's planned border reopening could be announced before the end of the week, and experts are worried as coronavirus cases continue to spiral in Europe. Cases have also hit new peaks in US, where Trump and Biden continue with their election campaigns. Wild weather continues to smash Australia's east coast, with warnings for more dangerous conditions ahead of us. Follow us through the day for key breaking news and developments, coronavirus updates, and live streams from Australia and from around the world. But first, let's take a look at today's weather with Dilraj.
Good morning, everyone. Weather forecast for the rest of today is maximum 25 degree. Brisbane area is cloudy with very high chance of showers. A thunderstorm likely, possibly severe. Wind southeasterly 20 to 30 km per hour, becoming light in the evening. Fire danger is low to moderate. Sun protection is recommended till 3 past 20. And UV index is predicted to reach 10, that is very high. Till tomorrow, stay safe and have a good day.
Thank you very much. And ahead in the bulletin today, we have lots coming up. But first, we will take a very quick look at what's making news today. So in the bulletin, Victoria records second straight day with no COVID-19.
At news.abc.net.au and on iView, here are today's top stories. Victoria has again recorded no new coronavirus cases overnight. Mystery cases are down to 6. Melbourne's restrictions on retail lift at midnight tonight. Limited dining returns. And the state government will today make announcements on whether visitors are allowed into private homes. The first of 4 repatriation flights from India is due to land in Darwin this morning. The passengers will have to quarantine at the Howard Springs facility in the Northern Territory. About 5,000 Australians who've been stranded overseas are being flown back to Australia on government-chartered flights over the next few months. Tens of thousands of people have been evacuated from their homes ahead of a fast-moving fire in Southern California. Authorities say the fire has grown dramatically in size just in a few hours, fanned by hurricane-force winds. Power companies shut down supplies to prevent equipment sparking new fires, leaving about 1 million people without electricity. And scientists have determined there's more frozen water on the moon and in more places than previously believed. They say vast tracts of the lunar surface are cold enough to trap water in the form of ice and store it for millions or even billions of years. Scientists say the find could help future human settlement on the moon for either drinking or making rocket fuel.
That's breaking news for today. Well, right now we look at Victoria as the big news there. Is that the breakdown of what will change from November 8th. Here's Premier Daniel Andrews.
From 11:59 p.m. on Sunday the 8th of November, I can confirm that the 25-kilometre travel limit will go and the Metropolitan Melbourne regional border will go as well. The state will be one again for the purposes of travel and movement. COVID safety will still be critical, following the rules will still be critical, but that little bit extra time means that we can align both Metropolitan Melbourne and regional Victoria at that time. Accordingly, in Melbourne, gyms and fitness studios will reopen on the 8th, maximum of 20 people, maximum of 10 people per space, density of 1 person per 8 square metres. Restaurants, hotels, cafes, bars will then move to an indoor maximum of 40 people with 10 people per space, outdoor a maximum of 70 people with 1 person per 2 square metres. In line with regional Victoria and the alignment of Melbourne and regional Victoria, outdoors, this is for faith gatherings, for religious gatherings, outdoors maximum of 50 people plus one faith leader, indoors maximum of 20 people plus one faith leader. Further, funerals will move indoors, maximum of 20 mourners, outdoors a maximum of 50 mourners. There'll be some changes to indoor community sport, so non-contact sport for aged 18 years and under, and sports that are capable of 1.5 metre distancing will be able to operate indoors from the 8th of November. Indoor pools will also be able to be open for up to 20 people.
So there's the updates of what is going to be easing. And of course, Victoria will ease a lot of restrictions from tonight. Here's a continuation of that news.
Now is the time to open up. Now is the time to congratulate every single Victorian for staying the course. Now is the time to thank every single Victorian family for being guided by the data, the science and the doctors. I am very pleased to be able to announce that from 11:59 p.m, Tuesday the 27th of October, all retail will open. Restaurants, hotels, cafes and bars, they will reopen as well. Indoor, there will be a maximum of 20 people seated with 10 people per space. Outdoor, a maximum of 50 people with one person per 2 square metres. Beauty, personal services and tattooing, provided you can wear a mask, will reopen. There will be a dark opening, that is to say, staff that are required to make the business ready for trading, and importantly, it's not just...
So finally, Victoria is opening up. So what are the locals saying, or what are they feeling, and what do they, what are the feelings on the ground? Let's take a look at, talking to everyone on the ground, see what they feel about the reopening.
Yeah, it's great news. I reckon even though initially Daniel Andrews did mess up, I think he's sort of cleaned up his mess.
For me, retail reopening means that we get to have customers in the store again. I think that everyone in Melbourne's been really looking forward to that. I also think that it's good we've waited until this time. Having a 0 day-to-day means that I feel a lot more positive about it, and I'm definitely excited to have people back in and have it opening up.
I think I'm going to make the most of it. I'm going to go out and do all the great things and see my friends, my partner's family. He hasn't seen them for a very long time. I might even go to a restaurant and do what I need to do and get a coffee, and I think it's the prime example of just a bit of normalcy.
So everyone's just feeling happy that the restrictions are going to be lifted and that life will get back to normal. But of course, we always need to proceed with care, and that is of course always a little bit of danger and precaution needs to be taken. And here's a message from our Prime Minister on Victoria's reopening.
A big shout out to everybody down in Melbourne and across Victoria this afternoon. We welcome the news from the Victorian Premier that the lockdown will end from tomorrow night, and with the easing of restrictions across so many different parts of your life that you'll be able to get on with now. Now, of course, there's a lot further to go and there's a lot more decisions. This is basically the first step on that 3-step plan to open Australia up by Christmas that we're all committed to, and I look forward to working with the Premier as we work through the additional steps that will be necessary in the months ahead. But for now, I just want to say thank you and congratulations. You've done it really tough in Melbourne and across Victoria over recent months. And I said right at this outset of going into this lockdown that Australia will only succeed if Victoria succeeds, and you are succeeding, and that is a result of your efforts. And so now Melbourne and Victoria can safely open, and we need to ensure that Victoria stays safely open and that we would never have to go back into the sorts of measures that you've been put through over recent months. So again, I thank the Premier for his decision today and the Victorian Government, and looking forward to working together for an open Australia, one where we can all connect again and move into 2021 with a very optimistic view about our future. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much. And cutting across politics, I think that was a very, very good message there from our Prime Minister, and what he mentioned there about, being careful that we don't go back into those restrictions, and that will be dependent upon people and everyone's behavior and what they do and the responsibility that everyone takes. Well, right now, Queensland is on the election trail into the final days as we begin the countdown. The Premier's out in Whitsunday. Let's see what she has to say.
Okay, well here I am today at Airlie Beach in the heart of the Whitsundays, and what a magical day. Today I'm very pleased to announce that we are going to back the Skyway project, over 590 jobs for this local region. There's nothing I won't do for jobs in this state. We saw how Skyrail transformed Cairns. Skyway will transform the Whitsundays as well. People from all around Australia will want to come here to go on the Skyway and experience the magnificent views here overlooking the beautiful Whitsunday Islands. They'll be able to go right up to the top and they'll be able to have a coffee or a celebration. This is fantastic news for tourism, and it's about the government getting behind and supporting local jobs.
We are absolutely thrilled. This is a project that the region has been behind for several years, and it's something that's going to be a game changer here in the Whitsundays. We are in the heart of the Great Barrier Reef. We are in one of the most frequented, beautiful destinations in the world here in Queensland, the Whitsundays, and this project is something that's really going to be the future of our tourism industry and grow visitation and dispersal.
Fantastic. Tourism is alive and well right here because of the Palaszczuk Labor government. We've had announcement after announcement over the last couple of months, but this truly is like the icing on the cake to have this announced this morning. I know people are going to hear this news and be so excited right here and right across the electorate of Whitsunday. Look at Airlie Beach, look at the Whitsundays. It's a magic place, and here is another thing, but a major thing that's going to bring people and have people stay. And not only will they get to enjoy the Skyway, but I have no doubt they're going to get to enjoy all the things out here around us.
And enjoy all the things out around there at Airlie Beach, and the Whitsunday Islands is a beautiful place, and a beautiful part of Queensland. And I know that lately, as soon as the pandemic hit, I think the area has really gone ahead. Lots of people cannot go overseas or cannot go interstate, have been moving up to Airlie Beach, Cairns and all. Well, right now on the election trail, what's happening? Let's take a very quick look at Isabella, Lucy and Elkie Felkington and Deb's daughters. Let's see what they think about her mum going into politics.
Who's stricter, mum or dad?
Mum.
What's the most embarrassing thing your mum does?
Post bad photos of the sons.
Yeah. What's the best advice your mum's given you?
Girls can do anything.
Yeah. It's written on the fridge.
Yeah.
How'd your mum and dad meet?
At the end, through friends.
Can she dance?
She can, but should she?
What's the thing that your mum loves doing in her spare time?
Cooking.
Is she good at it?
Yes. Amazing.
So can cook, can't dance. Okay. If you're having a girls' night in, what's mum's pick for the movie?
The Holiday.
What's her favourite song?
She often plays Dreams by Fleetwood Mac in the morning when she gets up.
What's your favourite family holiday?
Probably when it's just at home at Kingaroy and we're all together.
Or Noosa? Yeah, I'd say Noosa.
Just me.
What's something you wish people knew about your mum?
Maybe how just easygoing and fun she is.
What's she scared of?
Not much.
Yeah. Why do you think she's running to be Premier?
Because she cares about Queenslanders.
How do you feel when people say things about your mum online?
Well, we know if it's negative, we know it's not true, so it's fine. Yeah. I don't love it, but kind of just ignore it. Yeah, just ignore it.
Would you prefer a swim at a beach or a mountain bike?
A swim at the beach.
Can she ride a motorbike?
Yes.
Can she ride a horse?
Yes.
What do you think when you see your mum on a billboard?
I think it's cool, yeah. All my friends think it's cool as well.
Makes me pretty proud.
So there you go, the three girls there, and it was amazing to see that they all came up with the same sort of answers and didn't disagree with each other and said, no, I think this or I think that. So that was wonderful. Well, right now, moving across, as we know, the Victoria is going to be opening up. What's happening in New South Wales, where there has been one new case reported?
There were 4 new cases of COVID-19 reported in the 24 hours to 8 o'clock last night. 1 is locally acquired and 3 are in overseas travellers in hotel quarantine. This brings the total number of cases in New South Wales to 4,197. The locally acquired case is a household contact of a previously reported case. The person is linked to the Oran Park community cluster and has been in isolation. There are now 23 cases linked to this cluster. There were 7,447 tests reported to 8 o'clock last night, compared to 12,465 the day before. New South Wales Health is treating 80 COVID patients with no patients in intensive care. It's vital that you come forward for testing right away, even if you have the mildest of symptoms like a runny nose, scratchy throat, cough, fever or other symptoms that could be a signal of COVID-19. There are more than 300 COVID testing locations across New South Wales. To find your nearest clinic, visit our website or contact your GP.
So it's very important to come forward and get tested, as has been said many, many times. And it is very, very important that that is being done because we know people can get very complacent and say, oh, okay, it's all over now. Let's go get on with the life. And boom, as before you know it, it will be back within the community. And we don't want that to happen. No one wants that to happen. Well, moving on now, let's go to the next news where we look at what Tanya Plibersek says about the Integrity Commission's delay. And why is that delay is what she's asking.
It's very disappointing. I think you could fairly say there's a 3-year delay on this since the government promised it. I think it's very important that we have a National Integrity Commission and a strong one, not a toothless tiger, but also that we support the other organisations that hold public figures like me to account, the Australian National Audit Office, a free and diverse media, that means proper funding for the ABC and it means media diversity. We need all of that, but underneath those mechanisms, rules and laws, we also need to attract and keep people in public life who genuinely want to do the right thing for their community, not just enrich themselves. I really like Anthony Trollope and his novels. He wrote a series of novels called the Palliser series, and he had this fictional English Prime Minister who said to his son one day, son, if the best you can do is when you're defending yourself, if the best you can do is what I did was not illegal, you have so missed the point of what is expected of someone in your position. And I think that's really important too. We absolutely need a tough cop on the beat. We absolutely need to properly fund and resource and give power to these organisations. But we also need a bedrock of ethics and behaviour in our public life that means that we're not relying on being caught out by the rules or the police when we're doing the wrong thing, but that we just don't do the wrong thing in the first place. Like, it's not rocket science.
Dave Sharma, I just want to be clear about this. Do you think we should have a National Integrity Commission?
Absolutely. I mean, we're committed to doing it and we will deliver one.
So, why don't we have one yet? Why can't we even see the legislation that you are going to put forward? Because it was promised at the end of last year, at the start of this year. Just unclear as to why we can't see it.
Well, we put out a discussion paper in December of 2018. We took submissions in response to that discussion paper. Draft legislation's been prepared and it will be released in a matter of weeks, and then we'll have consultation around it.
Well, it was ready in December.
This is going to happen.
It was ready in December. We know it was ready in December. So using COVID as an excuse, as the Prime Minister has done, just doesn't cut it. It's just like release the legislation. We don't even have to debate it in Parliament today. We can still have people looking at it, considering it, debating it in the public, determining whether this is strong enough. What really worries me is we'll look at the legislation and it won't be anywhere near strong enough.
So the 2 points that have been made there, one is that, okay, right, bring it out, and as Dave Summer there said, that a paper has been put forward and a bill will be put forward, and while Tanya Plibersek's debate is that put it out into the public, let people, worry about it and let people discuss about it. But you may have opinion polls, you can have, all kinds of decisions that people make on social media and other things, but will that matter? What does finally matter? What actually does change the rule, and how are the bills passed? They're done in the Parliament. So, that's where it really needs to be done. Of course, if it's not right, people will protest, people will get to the streets, and then government will have to re-look at what bill has been passed and make some amendments as may be necessary. But when you look at the debate there is whether it should just be brought out into the public right now or carry forward with the due diligence and the way, in the manner in which it needs to be done. While staying back to New South Wales, where the police have found a large quantity of cannabis and they have destroyed that as well. Here's that report. Wow, look at that, eh? And all goes up in smoke. Well, so much for the cannabis there in New South Wales. Coming back to Queensland, where an elderly person was attacked at a rally by the police, or the handling of police of this elderly person has come under attack. Let's take a look at that news. And as usual, everyone's out with the cameras. Well, the argument there is the protesters say that the elderly man was hit by a Queensland police officer in an unprovoked attack during a rally at Kangaroo Point over the weekend. So as you can see from that scene there, that the way the situation was handled. Well, the next news is Sir Peter Cosgrove says multiple tours in a very, very dangerous place has to have impact. How true is that?
Some of the people who are swept up in this have had multiple tours in a very, very dangerous place. This has to have an impact. I had to think about this, and I've written about it. I've had to think about this, was that exposure to danger, brutality and unrelenting threat, were there ways to ameliorate that by not sending the same people quite so often?
And of course, people may be saying that it's quite stating the obvious, but many times, as they say, common sense is not that common. Well, what happens when the rule makers become the rule breakers? Here's that next report.
Are you equally appalled that the head of the corporate watchdog, no less, should have pocketed $118,000 when he shouldn't have?
He is standing aside, the chair, and the recommendations of the ANO are being followed.
Chairman James Shipton was appointed by the Turnbull government with a mandate to shake up ASIC and bring new rigour to its oversight role, just as the Banking Royal Commission was getting underway. Now he's embroiled in his own financial scandal. It's been revealed ASIC paid for $118,000 worth of personal tax advice for James Shipton when he relocated from the United States.
I think the government needs to take the opportunity of a general clean up at the top in ASIC to bring in a fresh broom.
His deputy, Daniel Crennan, was paid just under $70,000 for housing costs when he relocated from Melbourne to Sydney. Daniel Crennan has resigned and James Shipton has stood aside pending an investigation.
$70,000 for relocating from Sydney to Melbourne. It's a large sum of money there, and the other one was with John Steppen. So the two cases there. Well, the corporate watchdog is drawing on scrutiny on itself. So ASIC's job is to scrutinise corporate Australia and ensure that regulations are met and companies are kept accountable. But are they accountable themselves or not? This report here, courtesy of ABC.
Well, the corporate watchdog is now without its two top commanders after Deputy Chair Daniel Crennan QC resigned today. As revealed last week, the National Auditor raised concerns about ASIC paying $70,000 in relocation costs for Mr Crennan on top of his big salary. Chair James Shipton has stepped aside while there's an investigation into why ASIC paid $120,000 for his personal tax advice. The people close to the matter the ABC have spoken to don't believe he will last. ASIC has never been the tough corporate cop on the beat, and the expenses saga is going to undermine it further. Alan Fells told me there needs to be a complete clean-out. Alan Fells, you've worked in regulatory bodies. How does this happen? Who signs it off?
Well, bad internal arrangements, obviously,
Bad internal arrangements, obviously, and that happens in many corporations as well. I mean, this is ASIC we're talking about, but in many organizations, in many boards and other things where people sit on the chair and they don't want to vacate, and so many times there are procedures that are not being followed, rules that are being amended. So should all ASX listed company directors be subject to yearly elections to the board? Here's this very interesting report. As we know, there's always the talk of continuity, and there's always the talk of who should be there, but should there be room made for fresh blood coming in? Should there be elections for the board every year?
Now, something that won't shock you, there is zero correlation between how long a director sits on an ASX board and how the company performs. Proxy advisor Ownership Matters has scrutinised the composition of ASX 300 boards over the last 15 years and found a lot lacking. It also reaffirms notions of the club, and the report is calling for all directors to be up for election every year. Ownership Matters Dean Patch says Australian investors pay ASX 300 directors $400 million a year that don't hold them responsible for the $1.7 trillion in value they oversee. Dean Patch, you believe this analysis makes a compelling case for the annual election of all public company directors. Really? Every year?
Well, it's not a silver bullet, but we've got to do something to provide the opportunity for investors to get rid of the duds. What this analysis shows is that far too many directors hang on, even though company performance has been absolutely terrible.
Doesn't that say more about the investors themselves? I mean, your analysis also shows that regardless of continued underperformance in companies they serve, 96% are just re-elected.
Well, that's true. What we know is that if an incumbent non-executive director stands for election, they get an average vote of 96% in favour. So if investors want improved accountability and improved performance at board level, they're going to have to do their job as well. You know, we pay $400 million for non-executive labour in the ASX. They do a very, very important job. They allocate the capital of $1.7 trillion. If we want improved productivity and improved performance, the owners of these companies are going to have to introduce and demand more contestability and more accountability of directors.
We've seen multiple directors be re-elected or remain on boards of companies that have been covered in scandal over the past 5 years, covered in poor performance, and yet it's the large shareholders that control the majority of the votes when these directors are put up for re-election. Why is it when these large investors, say super funds or big investment firms, have so much money riding on this, do they re-elect these people? Is it a club or is it laziness or what is it?
It's a mixture of all of those, but fundamentally there's often no alternative. So there's little contestability. Once you are on the slate of directors, there is very little scope for people, for whatever reason it is, to challenge those directors. So it's not as if there's a fair contest between qualified candidates.
What will make investors, particularly the large investors who have real say and real power voting at AGMs, what will actually make them change or force change at these companies?
I think putting competent people up in contest to boards that have gone stale for whatever reason. If those boards have been involved in the destruction of investors' capital, giving people an alternative to coalesce around and vote people in rather than vote people out.
Just finally, while I've got you, a major issue for investors this time around is that all the AGMs have been made virtual. What do you make of what's happened so far this early in the AGM season, and what are the risks of the government allowing AGMs to only be virtual from this point forth?
This one is a shocker, and there's nothing to be gained from ramming the legislation through and enabling directors to avoid scrutiny at a time when I think the investing public wants scrutiny to increase.
Dean Patch, thank you very much for your time.
You're most welcome, Elise.
A very, very interesting report there, I must say, and a lot to be learnt and desired from that report there. What they have been discussing there, cuts across the board as well, because there's many different scenarios in companies in which that could be applicable as well. Well, right now, let's take a commercial break before we come back to the world news. And with that, we'd like to welcome GlobeNet Realty, our sponsor for this segment.
GlobeNet Realty. GlobeNet Realty has been the longest established, trusted and respected agency in its trade area. Washa Chandra, Director of GlobeNet Realty, provides honest and ethical service to her customers. If you are thinking of investing in Brisbane real estate market, or if you are seeking professional property management, then you should contact Usha Chandra today on landline 3865 4466 or mobile 0419 775 416. And for further updates, log on to our website www.globenetralty.com.au. GlobeNet Realty is your own local real estate agency. Situated at Shop 52281 Sandgate Road, Boondall. GlobeNet Realty. Real estate is our world.
Real estate is a world, and tomorrow we'll bring to you the live segment of Real Estate Update with Usha Chandra from GlobeNet Realty right here. Well, right now into the world news segment, the question that everyone's asking is, will America sign up Donald Trump for another 4 years?
We We have 300 hamburgers, many French fries.
In the name of Jesus, we thank you.
Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord.
President Trump has been an embarrassment to this country.
There are those that think I'm a very stable genius.
His conduct, it's a combination of like the American Mussolini meets Dr. Frankenstein.
That's really bullshit.
President Trump is the most polarizing political figure of our lifetime.
So you're asking what will happen if Trump's reelected? You got any more room in Australia?
Welcome to Conservative Grounds. My name is Cliff Gephardt. We support the conservative way of life. When you walk in the door, there's a mural of a Second Amendment with about 35 guns on the wall. This is our Oval Office that we created to welcome the customers into Conservative Grounds. We've probably had about 30,000 photos taken of this and put on social media. We have pictures of Trump's family, his father, his mother, Melania and Barron, that sit behind the Resolute desk.
So that is the big question, and as we know, he's been campaigning, and Biden's campaigning as well, and there have been calls that, all this is happening amidst, while the coronavirus case is rife there. Well, next, NASA confirms that there is evidence of water on the lunar surface. So here's that news. And of course, once again, wherever men go, they will always find ways of exploration and of course exploitation.
They've measured something around 100 parts per million water. To get a sense of that, if I wanted to add 100 parts per million of water to myself, that's basically a teaspoon's worth of water, right? So we're not talking too much water, but there's a lot of the moon, and that, of course, adds up to a lot of teaspoons worth. And in the case of the poles in particular, there appears to be vast amounts of potential ice-bearing shadowed regions, so lots of availability of water. The key from NASA's point of view, indeed all space exploration, is that the water sustains our astronauts. They drink it, they can grow their crops for long duration flights, for example, to Mars, but it's also split into hydrogen and oxygen, and that is rocket fuel. So the moon has become a resupply station and a refueling station for our further expansion through the solar system, and that's why everyone is so excited by even just that little water.
So there you go. They're discovering water on moon, and already they found out what they can do with it. They start making rocket fuel and other thing. As I mentioned, introduce man into any equation, and things start happening. While talking about men have always gone out and tried to solve many of the difficult feats that have never been attempted, and have many times accomplished that as well. As in the former case, a paratrooper plunged into the sea at Yukon coast. He was raising money for mental wealth awareness. As we know, this has been that month. But anyway, as he took on the world record jumping, he jumped into the water, but then what happened there, you can see. That's the jump. Different angles of the jump. He did jump, but on impact, he became unconscious. And our lead out story for today, with that we'll go to the southern city of Naples, where hundreds of people gathered and protested against the lockdown and against the curfew there. As we have seen that throughout the world there have been many protests and people taking to the streets against the lockdowns in their respective countries. So ladies and gentlemen, with that it's time now to go to have a look at some of the upcoming events. Remember, a lot of these functions and events would be taking place virtually as we are easing restrictions. So some functions and events will be taking place where people will be attending, but the event will also be live cast and live streamed from the venues as well. That's why what happens is the limited number as per the requirements of COVID-19 restrictions will be attending in person. Other people will have the opportunity to join in via the virtual means. I'd just like to mention the Gopyo Diwali dinner, annual Diwali dinner. This is going to be taking place on 7th of November. And if you want to book, you'll have to go on site and book via Eventbrite. QMC's dinner function as well. This is on the 21st of November, and once again you can book tickets via Eventbrite. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. It's been wonderful having your company, always so good to see you. And don't worry, very soon we are going to be introducing some other segments to this, because this is presented by Australian Indian Radio and Brisbane Indian Times, but this segment is by Air English team. So this is presented in English. Now we have had so many calls for some other languages as well, so many commentary coming on in from India. So very soon we are going to be introducing Air's Punjabi, Kannada, and Hindi segment as well. There will be separate segments to this one here. So this will still remain as the Air English show daily live updates, but other languages will be introduced as well. And look, if you know of anyone who would like to present anything on any of these languages, please do contact us. We'd gladly give you a support and give you the training that's required as well. So once again, it's been wonderful having your company. Enjoy the rest of the day. And it's looking out the window, looking like a lovely day, not too bright out there today. And it is just so amazing, in and around Brisbane this time of the year. So for the rest of the day and for the week, stay safe and see you soon.